Bring it on.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Do you want the whole truth? I don't think you're ready.
Governments don't control things. A government can't control the economy without controlling people.
It's Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth.
Bold title. Yeah, I'll back it up. Are you some kind of tough guy today? What is that? I don't know. I was just feeling full of myself. How are ya? Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. We've just got to get right to it. But I'll give you a little preview of what's ahead. And this preview has been rated G, so everybody can listen. Like this program. The toughest things you'll hear are things like stew and, well, get to the point. Here it is. You ever wonder if Republicans or conservatives have solutions to health care? Me too. Well, I really don't wonder because I've been working on it myself. But that's a question. And it's pretty much one of the canards that we hear from the left is all you want to do is repeal Obamacare. Well, that would be a good start. And I'm speaking about conservatives, not necessarily Republicans. Not always the same thing. Don't you know it? Yes, I do. And I thought to myself, well, we need a segment on the solutions that have been put forward over the last 15 years by conservatives. What? It's true. And we'll bring you those from Dr. Paul Howard, PhD, center of the Manhattan Institute, senior fellow, and he directs their medical evaluation and study department. I'll give you the proper title when I introduce the man. That will be on the flip side of the first segment. Then we are going to take your calls. And we're going to ask you if Rand Paul is Scrooge. Rand Paul a statist? Didn't Jerry Boyer speak to what Scrooge and Christmas Carol, Dickens, all about? He did, yes, but I'm addressing something else, something Ruth Marcus of the Washington Post said. I'm going to post it on the Facebook so you have a time to weigh in. We'll play it for you, obviously, and then you're going to weigh in. Is cutting off unemployment benefits at 27 weeks plus, is that the remark of being heartless? We will pose that question to you. But first, President Obama spoke today at Nelson Mandela's funeral, and he had some things to say about people modeling Nelson Mandela, the good points, I guess, of Nelson Mandela. How do I put this? Because you look, remember, Nelson Mandela, all too human, some major blind spots, had some extraordinary things he did very well and that were good, and some extraordinary things that he was blind to or did not address that were bad. So, yeah, and then we have South Africa today and a whole host of things. Nonetheless, we've been through that. We've had our conversation. You know where I am on the issue. Here's what President Obama said today regarding the example Nelson Mandela, not only in his legacy that he set, but also what he did during his life mirrors what was happening. South Africa mirrored what was happening in the United States, and how we have a long way to go. The President of the United States, the narcissist in chief. How'd that get in there? That's not supposed to be in the script. Did you see the selfie? Stop it. Stay on point. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth now brings you President Obama. Roll it.
But in America and in South Africa and in countries all around the globe, we cannot allow our progress to cloud the fact that our work is not yet done. The struggles that follow the victory of formal equality or universal franchise may not be as filled with drama and moral clarity as those that came before, but they are no less important. For around the world today, we still see children suffering from hunger and disease. We still see rundown schools. We still see young people without prospects for the future. Around the world today, men and women are still imprisoned for their political beliefs and are still persecuted for what they look like and how they worship and who they love. That is happening today.
That is happening today. Did you hear who they love? Okay. I would focus on really what came before who they love. And incidentally, that doesn't mean I'm supportive of horrible regimes that hang homosexuals from cranes or are persecuting them like what takes place in Russia. Iran was the hanging from cranes, okay? So for those of you with an IQ below room temperature who immediately assumed that I was saying I'm supportive of that because I didn't highlight that particular part, but I was focusing in on the belief of what they believe, because Christians and certainly the continent of Africa are being slaughtered, and there still remains slavery still remains in Africa. I digress. So, yeah, Muslims, Arab Muslims, black Christians. Okay. That all said, he did say something that you look at that statement and you say, hey, he is making a statement to the world here about the good of what he has pointed out in Nelson Mandela's legacy, what he can hold up. And I understand that. Now I bring you Jack Phillips, a Colorado man at the center of the recent court ruling that ordered he agreed to cater a same-sex wedding. And in light of the fact that last week the judge said that Phillips' Masterpiece Cake Shop had violated discrimination laws by turning away a same-sex couple in 2012, was asked about what actually happened today on Fox and Friends by Elizabeth Hasselbeck. And Phillips went to explain exactly what took place. Roll it.
When they came in, they said that they wanted to get a wedding cake, and after introductions, and one of them said they were looking at weddings, the other one said that they were getting the wedding cake for their wedding. And I replied that I don't do cakes for same-sex weddings. And in shock, they both said, what? And I offered to do other cakes, birthday cakes, shower cakes, sell them cookies and brownies. I just don't do same-sex weddings. At which time they got up and left.
And then there were a ton of protests, phone calls, 500 people outside. Did you believe that you were operating within your constitutional right?
I hadn't thought about it at the time, but looking back, yes, I do believe that the United States Constitution as well as the Colorado Constitution both protect my right to freely practice my religious beliefs while I'm at my work.
So, was President Obama referring to the work we have to do in America to Jack Phillips? Or has what has happened in America, really you can put a lot into this case, and we're going to be we'll have on Hans von Spakovsky to address this later in the week specifically. But if you look at what President Obama is saying about being persecuted, and that's exactly what's taking place here, the violation of the rights that are outlined in the First Amendment, and really what's at hand with the homosexual agenda when it comes to imposing the redefinition of marriage on others, and taking color and behavior and saying they're the same thing. They're not. You're a bigot. Who, me? No, I was just pointing out saying, no, see, that's the tactic they use to silence everybody, because I don't hate homosexuals. I think homosexuality is a sin. As a Christian, I oppose it in the sense of being a sin. I'm not for it. I certainly don't understand the parades for it. I will never really gather that one. I put them on par with the parades where people are running up down the street saying, out of wedlock in relations. Woohoo! Oh, they don't have those yet. I don't say that as me pointing down at somebody who's a homosexual or practicing homosexual, however you want to put it. I hate talking about this stuff, pardon me. But we have to because it's thrust into our culture day in and day out, and we're called a bunch of bigots, so I've got to address it. I've got to do that because it's common sense. I love homosexuals in the sense of, as I would love other sinners, as I love the fact that I am a sinner and fallen, and only through the blood of Jesus am I separated from that sin. The point I'm making is, when we get into this whole discussion, let's be clear. It's not about hating individual homosexuals. It's not about the idea of persecuting homosexuals. It's about a movement within America that is changing the definition of words and then coming into businesses. And I believe this is exactly what Jefferson was pointing to when he talked about, quote, that one line that he put in there that's taken out but not put in the context about the state coming into a church and establishing a religion, meaning separation of church and state, not having the state coming into the church, that not having the state coming in a business and doing this and violating the religious rights and the rights of conscience. And then we can go to the HHS mandate. But I digress. I want to go to part 2 of Jack Phillips and go to what Elizabeth Hasselbeck asked him about going to jail for what he believed. Would he could be penalized to a year in jail, up to a year in jail. So here is part 2 of that clip. Roll it.
Jack, are you willing to go to jail for your religious beliefs here?
If that's what it takes, I guess I would be. I don't plan on giving up my religious beliefs. It's not just like I've chosen this team or that team. This is who I am. It's what I believe.
There wasn't any point in this process where you said, you know what, I'll make you 2 cakes, okay? Just leave me be. That
No.
never crossed your mind?
No, it's not just making the cake or the attention or getting from under pressure. I don't feel that I should participate in their wedding. And when I do a cake, I feel like I'm participating in the ceremony or the event or the celebration that the cake is for.
I bring you President Obama, back to President Obama, because he was speaking in front of dictators. Did you see this handshake with Raul Castro? Raul Castro? Yes. Sorry, I always try to butcher's names. Do you like that? Okay. So I'll address that in a second. Actually, Dick Big Time Cheney will on the flip side of the break. But before we get to that, here is President Obama. Now remember who he's speaking to, a world audience, including leaders that have not lived up to the example of Mandela, and at least highlighting the example of part of Mandela's legacy, which is standing up for freedom and leaving power, not crushing dissent. Here is the president. Roll it.
So we too must act on behalf of justice. We too must act on behalf of peace. There are too many people who happily embrace Madiba's legacy of racial reconciliation, but passionately resist even modest reforms that would challenge chronic poverty and growing inequality. There are too many leaders who claim solidarity with Madiba's struggle for freedom, but do not tolerate dissent from their own people.
Yes, we've experienced that as well here, haven't we? Tolerating dissent, like trying to shut down Fox News. Not because I love Fox News, but because I love freedom of speech and I like freedom of press. Yeah, like going after and targeting groups like the IRS did. Did you hear about 41 of those organizations were not interviewed by the FBI? I'll bring you that story a little later. Bush apparently was booed by some at this. George W. Bush was. stay classy, I say to that audience. Also, stay informed. Ridiculous. That all said, a president who has embraced Morsi, who has bowed to Assad, and is reaching out to a government and an organization, a government that is second only to Al-Qaeda with American blood on their hands, and is talking about the elimination of Israel. Very interesting in what he had to say there. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. A lot of mo on the flip side. AFR Talk.